Well,
that's how we start every faculty meeting.
we just had a bit of a moment here when there was some brilliant thinking going on, and I forgot to press play. Scott, in our brief conversations, you've mentioned the critical importance of language and the words we choose to use. Would you like to just elaborate on that and why that's so important for you in your startup school?
So for us, we really value the language that shapes how we think about children. And when we think about them mechanistically, then we get cogs in the machine. And when we think about the idea of kindergarten, that is a child guardian, we think about them organically and biologically, it's a whole entirely different metaphor. And so for us, we've reimagined the entire linguistics of schooling. And so most traditional schools, their language is geared around college and career readiness, which is fine. We certainly want our kids to go to college, and we think it's probably important for them to have jobs. But more importantly, we think it's extremely valuable for them to be deeply rooted people who are bearing fruit in their communities. And so we want them to be deeply rooted in identity, deeply rooted in purpose, deeply rooted in creativity. And that fruit bears seeds all over the place. It bears seeds as citizens, as husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, as producers, as people who are able to really be what we call architects of repair in the world.
It's a beautiful metaphor, the concept of the seed. I just wonder, for you, Amanda, in your role, what does that look like? How does that translate into action for you?
Man, I think the first thing is when I think about the garden metaphor and I think about what we're trying to do, I think a lot about like naming versus numbers, and that the first thing that we do is that we know names, like we name the seed, and that if we don't name it, then it's really hard to grow that thing or that individual. And so when I think about like creativity and like the seed of creativity and the seed of these children and what we're growing, I think the nature of creating is to name something new into the world. And so that, I think, fits a lot into the language that we're creating, and we're trying to name something new into the world and to create. And so, yeah.
Perfect.